I'm Nadia Hassan, and I'm a surface pattern and textile designer. I graduated from UNCG in 2007 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I've been creating surface pattern design since 2005. I worked with SECCA at Reynolds High School to do a project working with pattern design and primarily wallpaper design. We worked with a geometry class, a studio art class, a digital art class, and an advanced studio class. The students in the geometry classes, their activity centered around tessellations. I created a worksheet for them to work on that had a triangular grid, a regular square grid, and a hexagonal grid, and they were able to use colored pencils to create their own tessellating patterns from those worksheets. We wanted to have the students get a feel for what it's like to be a working artist and what types of things you might do as a working artist, and also to be aware of patterns and how they are in our everyday life and different examples of patterns, and then have them get the experience of actually creating their own pattern. The Art 1 students made rolling stamp patterns using common, everyday materials. They had rollers that we covered with paper and sticky foam, and they were able to make essentially a rolling stamp that would, when you cover it with paint, created an infinitely repeating pattern. This was a sort of miniature version of the group project that all of the classes would work on towards the end of the project.
I think that's about the neatest thing I've done in art so far.
So the interesting thing about pattern making is that you might do it to express yourself or to express an idea, but oftentimes patterns are for commercial purposes. So it's sort of where art and design come together to create one product that has elements of both. The e-media class, working with digital media such as Illustrator and Photoshop, in this case we worked with Illustrator to make digital patterns. They worked with the symbol libraries that exist in Illustrator, and they chose a symbol that they liked and used that to create a basic repeating pattern inside of Illustrator.
I've been volunteering with SECCA for about a year and a half. I do art projects with them, with kids, and work with their community day. Doing a project for e-media with stamping and print design, and it's been really fun. We got to use animation online, and now we're making a big mural for SECCA.
In April of 2013, I completed one of the more interesting and ambitious pattern projects that I have worked on so far. I painted a pattern on February 1 Avenue in downtown Greensboro. It was part of a project that was called Pop-Up Promenade, and it was intended to make space for pedestrians in the city and make people feel welcome and feel like they could have fun and relax and hang out without. So we worked with 6 classes all together, and each class created a collaborative group design out of a large piece of PVC pipe and foam stamps that each student created for themselves. So I had each student cut a shape out of a piece of sticky foam, and then I assembled these shapes onto a piece of paper that we wrapped around a large piece of PVC pipe. After we did that, we coated the stamp with paint, and rolled it out on uncoated canvas on the floor to create what simulated wallpaper.
My experience with SECCA was very pleasant. I really enjoyed the stamp making part, and I'm really excited about seeing what happens and how it turns out.
I really enjoyed having the visiting artists come, and what I did was I did a design with sand dollars on it, and I sort of imagined mine being fabric maybe used for like a beach house, like for someone's pillow or someone's wallpaper in their bathroom for a beach house, and I really enjoyed the whole process and learning how to fit things together so the pattern would be a continuous repeat, and I thought it was really cool.
I will certainly use like her method of patterns, and like if I wanted to design clothing and like make my own like sort of style, like just like designing like a jacket or maybe some type of shirts. That would be pretty cool.
I thought it was really neat to learn the process of creating a continuous pattern. It was actually more complicated than I had assumed it was, because when you see a pattern, you just are like, oh, that would be so easy to make, but there's a lot of steps that go into it. They're not necessarily too hard, but there's a lot of steps, and it was really neat to learn about.
There were two things that I really wanted the students to take away from this experience. Besides becoming familiar with patterns and wallpaper and fabric and other uses for surface patterns, I hope that they learned that sometimes mistakes and imperfections are actually, they're part of the process, and sometimes that's where the magic happens, is when you make a mistake, you discover something that you can use to make an even better project the next time. Another thing that I wanted them to learn was that you don't have to have anything fancy to make art and to make design. You can use common materials, ordinary things to make something extraordinary. You just need a little bit of thoughtfulness and a little bit of creativity.